Coming up on NonStop Local at 4, amidst the federal court battle over SNAP funding, some beneficiaries are wondering if their funds need to be repaid. NonStop Local's Belle Lewis has the details on this rising concern. And one website facing lawsuits across the United States, including Washington, for allegedly encouraging unaffordable rent hikes. How Washington State and potentially Spokane are trying to combat this. And a layoff notice issued for the East Adams County Rural Hospital. How reclassification could help get the hospital the funds that it desperately needs. That's coming up next.
Corey Howard and Leslie Lowe, bringing you the content that connects our community. You're watching NonStop Local News at 4.
And new at 4 tonight, a Washington State Rural Hospital facing a potential closure. East Adams Rural Healthcare in Ritzville submitting a warn notice to the Washington State Security Employment Department announcing layoffs. According to the notice, 108 employees could lose their jobs on January 7th as the hospital board considers bankruptcy. This is to address more than $13 million in debt generated between 2022 and 2024. The hospital broke even in 2025 thanks in part to $2 million allocated earlier this year from the Washington State Hospital Distressed Fund. But that does not leave the hospital with any hope of paying down the balances owed to vendors. CEO Todd Nita says vendors are no longer in a position to continue to support the hospital without payment. The hospital board is working with some state lawmakers to determine if it wants to reclassify from a critical access hospital to a rural emergency hospital. We're also continuing to track the impacts of the government shutdown, specifically what's happening with federal SNAP benefits nationwide and in Washington. SNAP standing for Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, previously known as food stamps. On Friday, Governor Bob Ferguson announced 250,000 households had received their SNAP benefits. That's about half of the total households relying on SNAP benefits in Washington State. NonStop Local's Belle Lewis joining us now live in studio. And Belle, you looked into some of the legal challenges the rollout of SNAP is currently facing. What can you tell us?
Yeah, good evening, Corey. Earlier today, we actually heard from a SNAP recipient who will only identify as Jan. She says she received her full SNAP benefits earlier this week, totaling around $30. Now, Jan did not want to appear on camera, but she told me that extra $24 helps tide her over during that last week of the month. But she contacted us worried she might have to pay those benefits back. That fear coming from a USDA memo sent on Saturday evening. It says, quote, to the extent states sent full SNAP payment files for November 2025, this was unauthorized. Accordingly, states must immediately undo any steps taken to issue full SNAP benefits for November 2025. Again, this coming as a series of legal challenges from the Trump administration have now landed in front of the Supreme Court. The Supreme Court did order a stay on funding Saturday with the instruction that the White House needed to submit some supplemental information to continue that hold, which they did this afternoon. Washington was one of 20 states that released some SNAP funding for November. But again, Washington dealt out benefits to about half of SNAP recipients, and all the uncertainty has caused local organizations to see increased demand for help.
So we noticed that there's a lot of desperation. The calls are very frequent. People are trying to decide whether they're paying their rent, if they're paying their heating bill, if they're buying food.
That's Tonya Gibson, the newly named Food Czarina of Spokane Neighborhood Action Partners, the organization doing what it can to help answer some questions for federal food stamp program. She says she's been working there for about 7 years, and this year has seen the most demand by far. And as for answering those big questions, what's going to happen to all the people who did receive SNAP benefits? We reached out to Governor Ferguson's office and we're told that we should be getting some information later this afternoon. We'll take a deeper look at that information and the legal challenges facing SNAP tonight at 6:30. Back to you, Corey.
Thank you very much, Belle. The website RealPage, which provides a rent-fixing tool using AI, is still facing an antitrust lawsuit by several states. Washington State left the lawsuit to file its own lawsuit against them this year. Washington Attorney General Nick Brown saying the case has a broader impact on Washington residents and the housing crisis. Analysis by the Washington State Attorney General's office shows that in numerous markets pricing is higher and occupancy is lower for properties managed by landlords who use RealPage's products as compared to other properties. Now, the Spokane City Council is eyeing a new ordinance that could prohibit the use of tools like RealPage when it comes to the rental market. Coming up tonight on NonStop Local at 5, reporter Jared Cottingham speaks to City Council members on why they hope to make this change now to start a statewide push against algorithmic price fixing. go over to Leslie Lowe on this rainy Monday here in the inland Northwest. Yes?
Yes.
I don't know. I checked like a couple hours ago. It was raining. Is it still doing it?
Well, we had a little bit of light rainfall. Right now, just mostly cloudy skies. But I want you to get a look at this. This is a live look over Spokane. Beautiful sunset underway. Actually, sunset tonight at 4:18, I believe. 4:18, 4:16, somewhere around there. Anyway, it's absolutely gorgeous. And like I said, we have seen some light rainfall. Current temperatures are sitting within the mid-40s in Spokane. We've got mid-40s over towards Ritzville and Moses Lake. It's misting for my friends over towards Moses Lake. 50-degree temperatures right now for Lewiston and Orfino. Upper 30s in Sandpoint, and then upper 40s up towards areas around Winthrop and Brewster. Wind speeds for the most part 5 to 10 miles per hour. There's that band of showers making a shift now to the south and over to the east of us. So lingering showers will continue for my friends down through the Palouse into the LC Valley, pushing over towards the Lookout Pass, and then finally into parts of central Idaho and over towards western Montana. We'll clear out for the most part overnight tonight. I'll call for partly cloudy skies. Also the potential some patchy fog and or freezing fog, which means slow going conditions as you're headed out the door tomorrow morning, just above freezing. For Colville, we'll be right at freezing. In Troy and Libby, Montana, mid-30s expected tonight in Spokane, but 40-degree temperatures for Coeur d'Alene down through Lewiston, central Washington, low into the 30s for Moses Lake, and for Connell, we pop into the mid to upper 30s though for Omak and for Wenatchee. Corey, when I see you back here in just a few minutes, we'll get a full look at that 7-day forecast. We've got a round of valley rain and mountain snow on the way as we get into the end of the week, so those details coming up.
Thanks, Leslie. Well, it's been nearly a month since Hamas released the remaining Israeli hostages taken in October of 2023. Some of those hostages spend hundreds of days in captivity. Tonight in Spokane, people have the opportunity to hear firsthand about what they experienced. Rosemary Wright joining us now from the Southside Community Center, where a couple who was held by Hamas sharing their story tonight. Good afternoon, Rosemary.
Good afternoon to you as well, Corey. Tonight, Sapir Cohen and Sasha Trufanov will tell their stories of being taken by Hamas during the October 7th attacks. Chabad of Spokane says Trufanov spent 498 days as a hostage. He was shot and severely wounded during that time in captivity. Cohen was held for 54 days. Chabad says she was interrogated by the leader of Hamas himself. Tonight at 7 p.m., you can hear these stories in their own words. Again, that event taking place at the Southside Senior Community Center in Spokane. We'll also have information on how to attend on our website. Live in Spokane, Rosemary Wright, NonStop Local. Corey?
Thank you, Rosemary. To a crime tracker now out of Ellensburg. Ellensburg police say a man is under arrest after a gunshot was heard 1 block from Central Washington University. Police say they were called to an apartment complex early Sunday morning after a man pointed a gun at another man. Police say there was a struggle with the gun between the two men and it went off. No injuries were reported, and the suspect was booked into the Kittitas County Jail for assault in the first degree. Well, only on NonStop Local, faith communities in Spokane are continuing to take action in support of immigrants and refugees. Calvary Baptist Church volunteers are packing bags with food, clothing, and toiletries for people cut off from other assistance. The pastor there saying he believes in treating everyone with compassion, regardless of where they come from.
Whether you are an immigrant coming from a foreign land and you live next door, or whether you are someone on the street, I have to have that same compassion for you as I have for my fellow man, or as I have for myself.
NonStop Local Jairus Cottingham has been speaking with church leaders and their role in this, and you can watch that full story coming up tonight at 6 o'clock. And saluting the brave tonight as the U.S. Marine Corps is celebrating 250 years of service today. On this day in 1775, John Adams drafted a resolution that created what was known as the Continental Marines. The U.S. Mint has unveiled a special commemorative coin to honor the rich history of the Marines. Currently, there are more than 200,000 active duty and reserve Marines serving in the United States. And with that, we do want to remind you that tomorrow is Veterans Day, which means federal buildings will be closed, including banks, post offices, and police department front lobbies. We, of course, thank veterans for their service. Coming up tonight on NonStop Local at 4, we are talking lotteries as well, and not the Mega Millions. That one is nearing $1 billion right now. It's a cemetery lottery. Sounds kind of weird. Well, it kind of is, and we'll tell you all about it coming up.
It does sound kind of weird, so looking forward to hearing this story. Live look over Spokane. Look at that sunset. It is absolutely stunning. We have seen a little bit of light rainfall. That band now starting to shift to the south. We'll talk about that, get a full look at that 7-day forecast. We'll see you back here in a few minutes.